Would I be the a-hole for asking my girlfriend to sign a prenup? Hey everyone, I could really use some advice. I'm a 26-year-old guy, and I've been dating my girlfriend, who's 25, for a little over a year now. Things between us have been pretty good overall, but there are a few issues that have been coming up recently. Some of these things have also been mentioned by my mom and a few friends, and now it's really starting to make me think more deeply about our relationship and what the future holds. A little bit about me first. I have a stable, well-paying job, and I make around $95,000 a year. I'm pretty proud of the fact that I've managed to save up a decent amount of money over the years. I've got a few $1,000s in savings, which I keep as an emergency fund, and I own my house outright. It's a nice house, nothing too fancy, but it's home. I've also got two cars, a 2012 Acura MDX and a 2015 Cadillac Ace. Both of them are in great condition, and I take pride in maintaining them. In addition to my income, I also make about $1,200 a month by renting out part of my house to a tenant, which has helped me build up my savings even more. My girlfriend, on the other hand, currently works part-time at a bar. She doesn't make a lot of money, and her job isn't as stable as mine, but she gets by. She's mentioned a few times that she's looking to transition into something more permanent or higher paying, but nothing has really come through yet. I try to be supportive, but I've started noticing some patterns that have made me wonder if we're on the same page financially, especially when it comes to our future together. One of the things that's come up between us is my house. A few months ago, she brought up the idea of me adding her name to the title of the house. I'll be honest, it caught me off guard. I mean, we've been dating for just over a year, and while things are going well, I didn't think we were at the point where we needed to have both our names on the property. Plus, she hasn't contributed anything to the house financially. I've paid for everything, the down payment, the mortgage, the renovations, so it didn't seem fair to me to just put her name on the title when she hasn't been a part of that investment. When I told her I wasn't comfortable with that, she seemed to understand at first, but I could tell she was a little disappointed. This wasn't the only time we've had a disagreement about money though. Another example happened a couple of months ago when I bought my second car, the Cadillac ATS. I'd had my Acura for a long time, and it was fully paid off, so I figured it was time to treat myself to something a little newer. When I bought the Cadillac, I told my girlfriend she was welcome to drive my old Acura since it's still a great car and runs perfectly fine. I thought this would be a nice gesture and a way for her to have a car to use without having to worry about buying her own just yet. However, she didn't seem to see it that way. Instead, she asked me if I could sell the Acura and use the money from the sale to help her buy a car of her own. She wanted something newer and nicer than the Acura, and she felt like I should help her make that happen since I was already getting a new car for myself. Again, I wasn't really comfortable with this. The Acura was paid off, and I didn't see the point in selling it when it could still be useful. Plus, it felt a bit strange that she expected me to use my money to buy her a car when she hadn't contributed to the purchase of either of my cars. I ended up telling her no. I explained that I wasn't comfortable selling the Acura just to help her buy something else, especially since I'd already offered to let her use it for free. Instead, I suggested that I could help her find a more affordable car on a buy and sell site or through a dealership, something within her budget. I even said I'd be willing to help her with the purchase to some extent, but I wasn't going to sell my Acura for it. She got really upset about this, and it caused a bit of tension between us for a while. These kinds of disagreements don't stop at cars or the house either. Another thing she frequently asks for is designer handbags. She's mentioned wanting a few specific ones that cost around $3,000 each. I've always said no to these requests because, honestly, I think it's a waste of money. I don't have any issue with buying her gifts when it comes to smaller, more reasonable presents. I'm happy to spend money on her. For example, I've bought her clothes, shoes, jewelry, and taken her out to nice dinners. But when it comes to something as extravagant as a $3,000 handbag, I can't justify it. I feel like it's not a practical way to spend money, especially when she's not in a position to contribute financially at the same level. She's gotten upset about this too, claiming that I don't care enough to spoil her with luxury items. She compares us to other couples she knows, where the guy buys his girlfriend expensive gifts, and it makes her feel like I'm holding back. But from my perspective, it's not about holding back. It's about being smart with my money and not spending recklessly on things that I don't think are worth it. Here's the thing. It's not like I'm stingy or unwilling to spend money on her. I've always been generous with things that make sense to me, whether it's gifts, experiences, or helping her out when she's in a tough spot. But I'm also someone who values financial responsibility and planning for the future. I've worked hard to get to where I am financially, and I want to be smart about how I manage my money going forward. All of this has made me start thinking about the future, specifically what would happen if we were to get married. I've seen how things have played out with friends and family members who didn't take the right precautions when it came to finances in their relationships. Some of them ended up in bad situations after breakups or divorces, losing assets they'd worked hard for because they hadn't protected themselves. That's why I've been considering the idea of asking her to sign a prenuptial agreement if we ever do get married. I know it's not the most romantic thing about, but I feel like it's important to protect what I've built. However, I'm worried that even bringing up the idea of a prenup might make me seem like a jerk in her eyes. I don't plan on marrying her anytime soon. We're still in the early stages of figuring out our life together. But if things do progress in that direction, I feel like it's something I'd want to discuss. My question is, would I be an asshole for asking her to sign a prenup if we were to get married? I feel like it's a reasonable request given that I own my house, cars, and have savings, but I also know how sensitive these kinds of conversations can be. I'm honestly torn between wanting to protect myself financially and not wanting to damage our relationship by coming across as too guarded or untrusting. I do care about her, but the recent issues we've had around money have made me wonder if we're on the same page when it comes to financial responsibility. Any advice would be appreciated, whether it's about the house, the car, or the prenup situation. I just want to make sure I'm handling this in the best way possible while still protecting my future. Thanks in advance. Update. I couldn't edit my previous post, so I've deleted it and revised it here. Sorry if you read this already. Hey, so I was planning on doing this conversation with my girlfriend on Saturday, when neither of us need to worry about work. This is going to be a bit longer than my original as well. Also, to the people who were saying that I'm not as rich as I think I am. I know damn well I'm not rich by any stretch of the imagination. The things I listed were to give an example as to how far out some of her requests have been. I got home at around midnight, and she got home around 3:30 a.m. after he shifted the bar. She wasn't in the best of moods and started to say how things aren't like they were before. I agreed with her and then asked her how long she was planning on staying at the bar and if she was going to look for a more full-time or reliable job. She told me she wants to be a realtor in a year or two, and I asked her when she decided that. She told me about a week ago. I wasn't trying to pressure her, but I asked her what steps she needed to take in order to make it happen. She didn't give me a full answer and just mentioned that she was talking to a lady who worked as a realtor, who was at the bar a few weeks ago. I told her I was happy she had a goal that she was aiming for. She then said she wanted to buy an apartment herself next year, as she wants to live by herself for a bit. I asked her how she was going to manage getting it, and she asked if I'd help her. I asked her just as an estimate if I was to help what percentage I would be contributing, and she said about 80. This is where things started to take a turn. I said I don't think that would be fair, as she decided to sell it, the money would go 50-50. She didn't have anything to say to that, so I asked her, if you went out on your own and purchased that apartment, used all the money you worked for, and then I came and married you and left, how comfortable would you be selling it? She said she wouldn't be comfortable with it, I tried to explain that's how I felt with some of the things she's mentioned to me. She told me the guy is supposed to provide. And while I don't disagree with the statement, I thought back to a lot of comments on my last post of some ladies who were saying they make more than their husband. And they were for the idea of the prenup, not because he couldn't provide, but as asset protection. I also told her that some of her previous comments, such as being on the deed to my house, and me selling my car to buy her one, made me uneasy. She told me I was lying about the car, because she corrected me and said she asked me to trade it in for a new car for her. This is where I asked her, what do you think of a prenup agreement for if we get married? She started crying, saying I didn't trust her and that I was already planning on leaving her if that's what I had in mind. I told her that's not the case. We can both have one. I used a lot of examples people mentioned to me recently, such as her winning the lottery, getting a great job, or receiving an inheritance. It is protection for both of us. She didn't say anything to what I said, instead just looked away and said, I'm all by myself again. She was still crying. She asked if I would have asked someone who made more money than her to sign one as well. I told her I don't think I'd get married without one at this point. I brought up how the #1 reason for divorce is rooted to finances, and we don't see eye to eye on anything in that field. She asked what I meant. I asked her how much she's seen me spend on myself in the last year, and after a minute of thinking, she said almost nothing. I asked her if she has a closet and drawers filled to the point they don't close or open right of close, why she kept wanting new ones. She told me it's for her mental health, then asked me if I even cared about her mental health. I told her I did immensely, as I hate seeing her sad, but also told her that spending money to try and make yourself happy is a temporary fix, and it will be a repeating cycle. This was close to 6:30 a.m. and she told me that I should get some rest before work, as I leave at 1 to drive to work. So the conversation ended there and we both tried to sleep. I left out one topic from our conversation that was prevalent in my previous post. About intimacy, we did discuss it though. We talked more after I woke up around 9. Saturday, I'll bring grabbing my stuff from her place and we'll be going our separate ways. Thanks to everyone's opinion who commented on my previous post. I know I might not have handled the situation perfectly, but this conversation with her was probably the hardest talk I've ever had to have. I hope this is easier to read opposed to the wall of text I had earlier. Sorry to the people who comment on the last one.